Good morning. Until last weekend, I'd forgotten all about the fact that the FA Cup hadn't been completed. But now, last weekend, the quarter-finals took place, and I looked up and found out that the final is taking place on Saturday, August the 1st. Imagine, FA Cup final in August. And as I thought about it, I remembered that at the final, a hymn is always sung before the kick-off. I'm sure you know it. Abide with me. Apparently, this hymn has been sung at the FA Cup final for almost 100 years. The first time was in 1927, believe it or not, when Cardiff actually won the cup. Well, the hymn Abide with Me, I think, was sung then because it was well known. Sadly, it was often played and sung at funerals. Even today, many associate that hymn with funerals. Maybe it's sung at Wembley because to many the match is in fact life and death matter. Well, as I thought about this, I sat down and read the hymn through. And it is particularly suited to our situation at the time. Not because of death, but because it talks to us about how to cope with the difficulties in life. In the verses it says that about the emptiness of this life, and that in contrast to that, God stays the same, and that we do need his presence every day as we experience temptation, perhaps when loved ones are ill, and even some may have died. But the Lord Jesus Christ in John's Gospel chapter 15 tells us that we must abide in him. Let me just read John 15 verses 4 to 6. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you could do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered, and they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done. You see, this is true of all Christians. In fact, if you're not abiding, or if you like continuing in Jesus, then you're not a Christian. But what does it mean to abide in Jesus Christ? Well, let me mention just three things very quickly. Firstly, we're connected to Jesus. If you like, we have union with him. Secondly, we're dependent on Jesus. You see here in chapter 15 of John's Gospel, Jesus says and uses the picture of a vine, which he says represents him. He says, I am the vine and we are the branches. If a branch is cut off from the tree, then it will indeed wither and die. And similarly, we therefore depend on Jesus Christ for our spiritual life. And then thirdly, we must remain or stay in Jesus Christ. We must continue in him. How do we know we are abiding in Jesus Christ? Well, Jesus says in verse 5 again, if you abide in me and I in you, you'll bear much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. In order to be part of the vine, to be a branch of Jesus Christ, as it were, then we must live our lives so that we are more like Jesus day by day. We're not called to self-improvement, but to abide in him, to follow him by reading our Bibles, by prayer, and by serving him. You see, apart from Jesus, all that we try and do and try to accomplish becomes nothing. So this morning, let me ask you that question. Are you abiding in Jesus? If so, then you can truly sing the last line of that hymn, Abide in Me, because it says, in life, in death, O Lord, abide with me. I trust that each one of us will know what it is to continue to abide in Jesus Christ.